We are live right now with two of my very favorite people. I actually got to know them by going to one of their amazing events, and we're going to talk through that in a little bit. But welcome to episode number 11. So we have today with us, we have Jeff Cohn and Andy Kueny. I did it right, didn't I?
You did.
I love it. From Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group and Elite Real Estate Systems, which is the awesome event that I went to and that we'll discuss later. I'm Lindsay Soprani, and I'm the owner of Soprani Consulting and the Lindsay Soprani team. And I have my lovely co-host, Miss Christy Belt-Grossman, who is the owner of Ops Boss Coaching. So all things administrative assistant in operations coaching, you can go to her. And so today, like I said, we've got Jeff and we've got Andy here, and they are doing amazing things. You can even see in the background, we've got the team building podcast, so you can always venture over there to see that too. But guys, welcome. We're really excited to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Thank you for the opportunity, Lindsay.
Yeah. So what I love is that Andy has been on the team for around 7 years. First 2 years, he was an agent on the team and then promoted to the director of sales would be the correct one, or what?
We call it Success Manager or Accountability Coach.
I love it. Basically running the team and meeting with all of the agents, holding them accountable, all those fun things. And so we're going to get a chance to talk to both of these guys about how that came to be and how it came to fruition. But before we do that, I'm going to kick it over to Christy, who is going to take us through those quick fire questions that we do so we can get to know them a little bit better.
Perfect.
Awesome. So first, I don't know that you guys each got to introduce yourselves. Let's introduce yourselves. Tell us, did we say that you guys are number one for Berkshire Hathaway team? Yes.
No, but I would have soon enough.
Okay. Let's just put that out there. Got to have we're going to
We'll issue our intros. Yeah. So Jeff Cohn here. People always joke that Andy and I look like brothers, which I think we do, which I think is more of a compliment to him than me. Wow. But you're going to find through this interview, our authenticity is usually pretty contagious. We have a lot of fun together. Andy and I've always had fun working together. And if you're not having fun, stop doing it. So you don't have to, hit your head over a wall to be successful. We have too much fun probably and absolutely love working together. So my career, I've been in a license since 2007, launched our team in 2011. We're known for going from 70 to over 700 unit sales in just 6 years, which to our understanding is the fastest growing real estate team in the country. We are number one at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in the world. We rank in the top 50 every year on the Wall Street Journal top 1,000 list. I also am known for owning a lot of other ancillary businesses. I know, Lindsay, you mentioned our coaching company, Elite Real Estate Systems. I have a call center with 100 virtual callers in the Philippines called 1,000 calls a day. I have an investment company called Dynamic Properties that buys and sells about 100 homes a year in and around the Omaha area. I also own Platinum Title and Platinum Insurance. So I've been in title and insurance for 3 years, and we're launching mortgage next year, Exarban Mortgage, and always looking for new opportunities, especially in businesses that run parallel to real estate.
Obvious. Serial entrepreneur here. I love it.
Entrepreneur.
Andy.
Perfect.
Give us your intro.
My name is Andy Kueny. I've been with Jeff and Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group for about 7.5, 8 years. I've been an agent for 9 years. For the last 5.5 years, I've been the success manager for Omaha's Elite. And then for the last 3 years, I've been the lead coach for Elite Real Estate Systems with Jeff and then we're actually part owners, Jeff, myself, and then our ops manager, Kevin McGowan. So that you guys have met. So and I've been doing that for the last probably 3 years.
Awesome. Love it. All right. We're going to take you through a couple quick fire questions. Jeff, I don't know if you've seen these. So we'll
I'm a 99D, 99I on the disc.
You didn't read anything.
I saw there was a link and I laughed.
That's because we usually have the ops person as the second person. So when Kevin's on, he'll fill them all out.
I read them.
All right. So we're going to go through these really quick. Year one profit of your real estate team.
That would be 2012. Man, that's 8 years ago. And I will be honest, I don't know, but I do know we went from 70 to 240 sides. And it's always been my goal to keep about 20 to 25% in net profit off GCI. And we did $1 million. So I probably made around 200. And then I also sold until 2014. And I averaged about 300,000 a year net in my own personal sales. I quit selling in 14 to focus on building businesses.
And then you expect to net what this year?
Right now, RGCI will be close to 3 million. So with Omaha's Elite, just the team alone and not all the other ancillary businesses that I mentioned, we will earn around $600,000 net.
I want to high five you. About 50% of our guests skip the profit question, and Lindsay and I are really focused on profit. So thank you for answering that.
And that's a tribute to our great ops manager, Kevin. He's done an awesome job helping us be able to break down all of our numbers, all of our analytics. You can ask us everything analytical. That's fun to us.
Anytime we sound super, super smart, it's because Kevin put it on a spreadsheet or a graph and for us, it made it really easy to translate.
I love it. All right. How many on your team year one? How many on your team now?
Year one, 6 agents in 60 days. When we launched, it was September of 2011. We got the Boomtown platform and 300 leads a month were coming in off of a $2,000 a month spend to Google ads and Facebook. And that was 6 agents going into 2012. We ended 12 with 12 agents. So in our first 12 months, we were up to 12. Today, we have about 30 licensed agents.
Awesome. All right. Who wants to take morning routine? Tips for your morning routine on starting your day right?
Oh, that's probably Jeff, morning routine.
I don't know that I'm the right person to ask. I know I've read a lot of books on this. One of my favorite is Hal Elrod's book. So he talks about the savers.
Miracle morning.
There's one for realtors. And the savers are scribing, which I don't do. That's journaling. Working out, I do. Listening to podcasts and creating podcasts, I do. I work out every morning. That's my number one. And then I meditate, and I do it by sitting in a hot tub or sitting in a tanning bed. I suffer from SADS, seasonal affective disorder. So when it's overcast and nasty 6 months out of the year, I jump in a tanning bed. I know it's not probably the healthiest thing, but it makes me feel really good. So getting that workout in and the meditation is key for my day to start. And then I'm usually either in the office at my house or in the office at the office from 10 to 3 p.m. And then usually after 3, my kids get home from school. I'm engaging them, helping with them. And then once the kids go to bed around 9 o'clock, I'll pull my phone back out and check different things on the phone to see if there's any issues.
Super purposeful. Andy, you want to take PM? How are you prepping for the next day? Tips for prepping.
You know what? Before I leave the office, I always have my notepad, and I always number it from 1 to whatever needs to be done. And one of the most important things you do is you put the hardest things first. And those are the things that are done right when I walk in the office. Yep. Right. And it's nice because I'm in the office about an hour and a half, usually before any of the agents get here. And that's when you make all the hard phone calls. That's when you make, you know what I mean? The tough decisions, do all of that, because you actually have a full tank at that time. A lot of people always want to kick the can down the road in the afternoon. And that's when the tough decisions or tough calls need to be made. And then I'll just kick it till tomorrow again, or you end up making a poor decision anyway. So I'm a big believer in no matter what you do, the toughest things, the hardest things you have to do that day are done right off the bat.
I love that. That actually raises your energy as you load off the tough things. Your energy goes up. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Book that impacted you the most. Either one of you or both.
Yeah, I have a laundry list.
Yeah, he'll have a laundry list. So I'll just jump in real quick with 1 or 2. 7 levels of communication. I absolutely love it. That one, it really helps me with holding the agents accountable when it comes to, letting them know about whether they're in the informational zone or the influential zone, right? Especially today with the millennials, everything wants to be text or things like that. And I got to explain to them how they cannot be influential via those avenues. The other one that Jeff gave me that I love, and I'm not a big reader, but I read this on one plane flight, and it was The Dream Manager. So that one is amazing. Anybody who is in any type of management, I believe, should be reading that book. And it tells it like a story. It's really good. And it challenges you to not go after the easy answer and try to fix the symptoms, and instead go find out what is really necessary. Because a lot of times these things are systemic, and you're just putting Band-Aids here, Band-Aids there, because they're cheap, easy, and quick, right? And actually dig in and find out what is the root cause of the problem. And usually the root cause is a lot more inexpensive and easier to fix if you're willing to put in the investigation work up front.
Yep. Love that. All right. Last 2 questions. How many streams of income do each of you have? Oh, Jeff, I skipped your books. Do you want to add a book?
Sure. Yeah, those were 2 great recommendations, Andy. How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. And then, of course, the original version by Dale Carnegie. The One Thing by Gary Keller. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying is a book I don't hear referenced much. I always bring that one up. I read that when I was in my early 20s, and it helped really help me self-actualize and know what I actually wanted to achieve rather than just doing what everyone else around me told me to accomplish. That's a pretty dang good starter list. Andy's 7 levels, and then the Dream
5
Manager.
dysfunctions of a team.
I love that. Lencioni.
Yep.
Good. All right. Last two questions. How many streams of income do you each have?
Well, I'll start first so I don't have to follow Jeff. Mine is 3. Mine is 3. It is, I still am in production. I still only do about around 15 units a year. So my residential real estate production, I am a salaried employee with Omaha's Elite as their success manager. And then I'm owner and lead coach of Elite Real Estate Systems. So I have those 3 streams.
Okay, Jeff.
That's a tough one to answer because like I own 70 doors. So I could say 70 different investments, right? Yeah, we'll count that as one, right? Obviously stocks. I'd say at least 10, probably 10 streams if you were going to categorize things.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, last question. What is the other person's superpower?
All right, I'll answer for Jeff. I think Jeff's superpower is, let me see. It is the visionary attitude or visionary mindset that he has. He's never, ever bothered by having goals that aren't big enough. And if you are going to hook your wagon to a leader, that's the person you want, right? The person who's always thinking about moving forward. And it's always 10 times what you're thinking, right?
Yeah.
And I absolutely, nothing encourages an implementer, right? Which is my role more than a visionary who has big goals. And I would say that's probably his number one is the visionary mindset.
Love that. All right, Jeff, what's Andy's?
Andy's superpower, and what I saw in Andy in the beginning, Andy did exactly what I believed a successful agent needed to do. He's a high IS, and he plugged right in. His first year in real estate, he did like 3 or 4 transactions. On our team, I think, Andy, would you hit 27?
29.
35. I mean, he has the record on our team right now, I believe, for the most internet leads converted for following all of our follow-up best practices. Who better to be the success manager? But I didn't hire him just because of his success. He actually is married to his wife is a very impressive person, human being, and is a marriage family therapist. And one of the things that I saw in Andy that I don't know that he had at the time even known about himself, but he was very good at processing human interaction and very good at listening to agents and then giving them advice that's outside of how many calls they make, how many contacts do they get. Because to me, it wasn't about holding people accountable just to key performance indicators. It's truly back to the book, The Dream Manager, helping people live and lead the life of their dreams. And I believed Andy could serve as the person to help them facilitate that in their life. And if we are able to change people's lives within our organization, they're never going to leave us.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. And Linz, I'm going to throw it back to you in a second. But Andy, you just called yourself an integrator, which I never would think of a success manager, director of sales as an integrator. I've never heard somebody self-describe that way, which is fascinating to me.
Well, and just to let you know, it was implementer.
Oh, I thought you said integrator.
But integrator works as well.
It works.
Yep.
Good.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to dive into, we've got people listening who are entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, as well as all kinds of shotgun leaders. And our aim is to figure out what adds to the leadership formula, what takes away from it, what divides, and most importantly, what can multiply your results. And so Lindsay's going to take us into the meat of that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
I love, Jeff, what you were just talking about. And so, I mean, let's dive into that a little bit because you saw something in Andy. I mean, he came in, so he sold for 2 years. And then did he ask for the position? Did you push?
No, I was dying. So before we jumped on this call, for those listening, we talked about unicorns and not getting on tangents. And in my world, I call it fluffy cats. Yeah. And we won't get into the specifics as to why I call it that, but there may or may not have been an event where someone told me about a cat for 45 minutes. And so I was getting bogged down with 12 agents, all the different fluffy cats. And I knew I wanted to give them more than what a typical leader would give them in terms of actually getting invested in their world, understanding all of the other idiosyncrasies, all the things that really impact an agent, keep them from performing at the highest level. And I saw Andy as being someone that could jump in and take on those responsibilities, thus allowing me to use my visionary mindset and go on and do bigger things. So he was my first key direct report, I guess, after Kevin. Kevin was the first in ops when we first launched the team, and Andy would have been the second. And to run any successful scaling business, I think you need to have someone in operations and someone in this like success manager role. And he came in part-time. He came in 20 hours a week. I think I paid you $50,000 a year, Andy, for 20 hours a week. Is that about right?
Yep.
And now flash forward today, he did that a few years. And then within the last year or two, he went in full-time. He's at $84,000 a year for those wondering what we pay a direct report in that capacity. But then he also has a team and he also sells a little bit, lists houses. And then he also works for Elite Real Estate Systems.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that is like partially why I love you guys, is because you're so transparent. Like you just threw out salaries, like, and you're not afraid to talk about that stuff. And it is just so refreshing. So I love it. Walk us through, because I know people are going to be wondering this. You know, Andy, you said you're still selling around 15, homes a year. Is it just to stay in and stay active? What's happening there?
Well, because it's the highest dollar producing activity that I do. You know what I mean? So, and just like I just had a person reach out to me that was an internet lead from about 6 years ago that I worked, and they just reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking to buy an acreage, blah, blah, blah. And I said, great, why don't you come in? I'm going to introduce you to my partner. And they're like, wonderful. So I'm going to do an hour-long buyer orientation, kick them off, and then, you know what I mean? That'll be it. But now if it was a listing, I would probably work the listing and let somebody else work the buy side. Yeah, and that's one of the nicest things is those things that I'm doing are a direct reflection of Jeff, right, as our leader, always preaching at those Monday team meetings that we have of trying or allowing us and helping us to become exactly like him, right? Do everything that he does. And so not only is he teaching me how to do it, he's giving me the environment to be able to actually then achieve it.
I remember I was talking to Andy for the first time. We were on a team trip in Las Vegas, and I'm going to give a little bit too many details here, but we were at a spa at the Caesar. We were literally in a Roman tub at
Here comes the transparency
at the Caesar. I won't get any more details than that, but you can probably guess where that went. So we're sitting there and he's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to be able to he was making great money, over 100 grand a year. He's like, I don't know how I can take on this $50,000 role. If that's not enough for 20 hours, how can we make that worth it? And I said, well, what if we created a team for you and you had 2 or 3 agents? So you no longer have to service. You keep the relationships you have, you bring people in, have them sign exclusive buyer agencies or have sellers sign listing agreements, and then turn it over to someone else to service all of it. And he already knew that mindset. He just hadn't taken that next step. And the 50 grand was a buffer that allowed him to take the risk of creating the team to see if it actually was going to work or not. And within the first 12 months, I think he figured out that it did work, and he did a great job at juggling both roles and enjoyed it. If he didn't enjoy the success manager role, he wouldn't have continued to stay in the role. And I was happy that he enjoyed it, because I didn't enjoy it anymore. I liked it in the beginning, but it was time for me to move on.
So in terms of, Andy, you said something about Jeff, we just have to do what Jeff does so we can be like Jeff. But I'm imagining he's also not just teaching you how to do, he's actually probably more teaching you how to think.
Correct. Yep. So
and like, what does that look? I want to know what that looks like. We have a lot of people who struggle with relationship of leader and shotgun leader, or whatever you want to call them. Like, how do you transmit that? How do I think to the other person?
So here is how that happens. What we find out with people is a lot of times people have such small goals, right? Is because they don't know what they're capable of. And so when you bring somebody into our team and you sit them down next to somebody who makes 2 to 3 times what they make, and you start seeing the goals that they have, right? So the thing is somebody can't have big goals if they can't see a way to get there, right? So when somebody sits down and all of a sudden they make $100,000, they're making very different decisions on a daily basis. Okay. And so they never had a goal about, I want to put away this retirement. I want to do this. I want to do this, because it was never an option. Well, now when you give them the income, right, or you allow them to earn the income that they can, now all of a sudden they have completely different goals. So for them to be able to even see it, right? And so what we call that is it's all about having a mindset shift or getting clarity on it. And that's the number one thing that we hear all the time when we host our Elite Real Estate Systems workshops. Everybody comes in and they'll take 12 pages worth of notes, and they'll say, what's your number one takeaway? And they're like, mindset, the idea that I actually can do it, right? There's actual incremental things that I can accomplish on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And I can actually do this. It isn't something where I thought I'd walk in here and say, nope, I'll never be able to do this, but I just wanted to make sure. Now they say they're scared because they're like, oh crap, I could do it. Right. And now then it comes into that whole, now I got to have that conversation with myself. Do I really want to put in the time necessary to do so?
Yeah. One of the things I'm going to jump in on this too. One good book, a great book that speaks to this is 10X Factor. So essentially, if you have any goal X, why not 10X it? The ecosystem you create to get to the goal that you've set today, it's going to change if you 10X your goal, but it usually doesn't change that much. And that's usually what's surprising to people. They think they have to work 10 times harder. And oftentimes it can be the opposite, because to get to the 10X, you have to have direct reports. So now you're literally on a beach on vacation, like Christy is today.
Right.
And somebody else is doing the heavy lifting. Exactly.
I've never seen somebody put ice in their wine like that, Christy.
This is water. I'm just saying.
Here's one other comment I'll make. Back in 2000, well, I have a whole pattern in my life of when I chose to go to college, interviewing people to ask which college to go to. When I was graduating college, interviewing people about the occupation I was going to get into. Once I got into real estate, interviewing individual agents, asking them, what would you do if you were my age with my passion? And then once we launched a team, I did the exact same thing and I went national. And my biggest takeaway, back to your mindset question, Christy, how do people think? I couldn't believe how average the top producers were across the country. They're just simple people. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's the difference between them and me? They've been at it longer. They're 55 years old. I'm 28 years old. So if I just do this for 20 years, I'm going to be a millionaire. I can't believe it. I believed that if I did all of the steps, I would eventually get there. Anyone that produces at a huge level in any industry just does a very simple thing over and over and over and over and over again, longer than anyone else. There's no special sauce. So you come to our workshop, you're going to be like, really? Lead gen, lead convert, hold people accountable, motivate, create a cool culture, and have great operations. That's it. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's where you guys have systems that are proven. So someone can believe I can do it because they see it. It's been proven on your team. I think a lot of teams struggle with that because they don't have the systems. They haven't proven their value proposition the way that you guys have.
The burden of proof is huge. And, we use, and Andy can speak to this too, our month of November for our team leader coaching product within Elite Real Estate Systems is business metrics tracking. And we use a product called Sisu, SISU.co. I'm not sure you guys probably
Lindsay just signed up for it.
Awesome.
Welcome. So what's really cool about Sisu is it allows each individual agent as an independent contractor to run their own business using the analytics based on their own successes. So you don't treat two agents the same. One agent might have a greater return on investment and a greater return on time, work less hours, make more money, more of a return off their time working open houses than another agent that just does cold calls. So you can help people goal set and have predictable revenue around their actual activities instead of just taking the averages of the overall team. But for those listeners out there that want to know some fun analytics, we know on our team over the last 8 years, if you want to make a 6-figure income, you have to sell 36 houses. And to sell 36 houses, you have to make 150 calls essentially for every one sale. So we just take 36 houses times 150 calls, divided over 50 weeks. And that's how the agent figures out how many calls they need to make each week. And then we hold them accountable to that. That's a key performance indicator.
I want to dial back to something you just said a second ago, which was I came out of college and I purposefully interviewed people. And then I did this and I purposefully did that. You've been purposeful since you were in high school. Why? Is that how you're wired? Did something happen? Like why? That's really unusual.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. And also people ask me oftentimes, like, how do I stay motivated? I just always had a burning inside my soul to be the best version of myself. I feel like life is precious and every day, every hour, every moment is unique. And we are allowed this time and we don't know when our time's going to end. And I figure if I'm going to do something, why not go big? The Navy SEAL creed is that it's not worth doing it unless anything worth doing is essentially worth doing big. And so that was a big part of my entire life with every choice that I made.
That's interesting. Love that.
Awesome. Let's ask this really quickly. When you did pass that position off to Andy, was that like an easy pass with those 12 agents that were under you and used to like having you as boss? Like, what did that look like? Because that is a really challenging thing for somebody to take on normally.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge wasn't Andy. Andy's a natural, and I feel like he dove right in and did an amazing job. The challenge was I had recruited those 12 agents, and I had held them accountable for several years, and their relationship was with me, and they felt like there was this loss. Like, oh, Jeff doesn't care about us anymore. He's pawning us off to our peer. At the time, Andy was their peer, and there were several that were doing almost as much business as Andy. So what does Andy know? Why should they have to go to Andy? Why should they have to answer to Andy? And so I had to work hard to explain, hey, guys, I'm still here. I care about you. I'm still the thought leader. I'm still here on Monday mornings doing our team accountability. Andy's there to be kind of the sounding board. Andy's there for the fluffy cat stories. Andy's there when you have questions. Andy also serves as like the broker. He's not the actual licensed broker, but serves as the person that would answer broker level questions. Whereas it used to be me. So I wanted to put myself in a position where I could say, that's an Andy question. That's an admin question. That's a Kevin question. That's a anyone else but me question. And if Andy were to come to me or one of my direct reports, then I can help answer the questions that they come to me with. And I'm thinking about this as another training opportunity for the guests listening. When someone comes to me with a question, if Andy were to come to me, he knows when he comes to me, he says, hey, Jeff, there's this issue. Here's my question. Here are my 3 solutions to my question. And here's the solution I think I should go with. What do you think? And I can say, I think that's right. Great job. You thought through it perfectly. I don't want to go solve people's problems. They should solve their own problems. And when I feel like they solved it in the wrong way, I'll ask him, why did you think to solve it that way? What was your thought process to get to where you were? And then I can walk him through what I think maybe a better thought process would be.
The agents on the team need to learn how to critically think for themselves so that they can start having the confidence, right? And this used to happen all the time. I used to walk into Jeff's office with a question and he would be eating lunch, signing paperwork, doing whatever. He wouldn't even look up. I'd rip off the question. Then I'd tell him the 3 responses. Then I'd tell him the answer. I'd be like, never mind, I got it. And I'd walk out and he didn't even say a word the entire conversation.
So
job.
Good
job.
Again.
Don't even walk into my office next time and interrupt my lunch.
Right. Just have the conversation on my own. Pretend you're there.
Well, it's like, guys, honest, real talk here. 3 weeks ago, I got a text message from an agent asking for my dad's cell phone number. My dad's one of the agents on my team, and she was a newer agent. I'm going to throw her under the bus. It was Sarah Stummy. And she texted me. I said, you can Google that. It's on our team roster. It's in the office. You can Google it. He's a realtor and has been for like 30 years. He's in a Google search. But instead, she texts the owner of the company. I have 40 agents. I have 10 businesses. And I was mean to her. I was upset. I was like, are you kidding me?
I think it was well-deserved mean, though.
I agree. I thought she hasn't texted me since. I don't even know if she's still on the team. Is she, Andy?
Yeah, I was helping her with something earlier before the podcast.
That's just tough love. That's just tough love.
So, I mean, I don't know a leader in the country in any business that doesn't want to be in a position where they don't have to take on any responsibility in terms of when people have questions. You can just kick the can and have somebody else be responsible for answering.
Does anybody get upset about that though? Or like Andy, was there like pushback on you with those kind of things at all? Or is it like, no, everybody's just fine?
What do you mean by pushback on?
From the
Like
agents.
when he, doesn't give an answer, or when he does something like that, or even, like when you first were taking over that role, were those agents easy to manage for you, or was there something?
You know what? There was only 12 agents, 11, not including me. And I would say there were about 3 or 4 that had been on the team for a while, that like, as long as I had been. Mm-hmm. But the good thing about it was I was really good friends with them.
Yeah.
So they trusted me, right? So they trusted me to have that. We already had a good relationship. The production was there, and they knew what my intentions were, right? My intentions were not to be, I now have, authority over you. It was never like that, right? So that made it really simple. Now, when Jeff gets after somebody like Sarah or something like that happens, they come in and occasionally someone will complain about it. Yeah. But then they'll literally turn around and complain about somebody else doing something. And I'll be like, well, let's take a step back and see. Right. And so it's usually nothing. We've never had anybody leave the team or be super upset about something like that. And if they are, they probably shouldn't have been on our team to begin with.
And there are some dysfunctions, and I'm okay with certain people coming to me with certain questions that I know out of the gate. It's not that Andy doesn't have an answer. They just respect my answer more than Andy's, or they just want another perspective. A lot of times they'll say, I already went to Andy and I'm just curious, but they're supposed to get Andy's permission to come to me or bring the issue to Andy, and Andy comes to me because I want to give Andy that opportunity to learn and grow. But we do allow for a little bit of that and some flexibility depending on who the person is.
Well, that's part of my job.
Did you ever butt heads?
Yeah.
Who?
Did the two of you ever butt heads? And if so, over what?
I haven't felt like we really do. I mean, when people think of what butting heads would
butt heads have just really strong opinions on the opposite side of a decision you're making.
I think we've disagreed a lot of times, but I take the role that it's my company and I'm going to make the final decision. And so he can weigh in as much as he wants, and I respect how he chooses to weigh in. But in the end, it's my decision. And I think he detaches himself from my final decision in the sense that he says, hey, I've spoken my piece. I've spoken my position. At the end of the day, it's Jeff's company. He can make the final decision.
So Andy, what does that look like for you on your side? If you have an opposite opinion of something Jeff's going to do, we have a lot of people listening where the shotgun leader is challenged with standing up and really giving their opinion, so that the leader can make a great decision.
Right. So here's the deal. Jeff turns around. I give him my input, which is my job. He pays me to do so. Right. And
I create a space where he's allowed to do it. There's some leaders that don't allow their people to give them that feedback.
That's what I want to dive into.
I ask for the direction. I'll ask Andy, and Andy, sorry to cut you off. Sure. I'll ask Andy, hey, where am I like not making it as a leader right now on the team? How do I need to change my approach with the team, my agents, my admin staff? Like, help me be a better version of myself. And he asks the same thing. So we're constantly holding each other accountable to making sure we're each operating at our best potential.
And what I find, especially when it's a one-on-one relationship like this, and Jeff said at the very beginning of this podcast, we have a ton of fun, right? Well, to have fun, you got to be friends. But here's the deal, right? Is you've got to be able, like Jeff said earlier, to detach that, because not only are we friends, but we also have a working relationship. Okay. And so when I will butt heads on something and we disagree, and I'll say my piece and Jeff will say his, and Jeff will make a decision that's different than what I wanted. I also now, right, have to detach the personal side of that and be like, okay, this is the decision that was made. Now it's my job to run behind it.
Yeah.
Right. And so and I can't take it personally like it was a defeat. You know what I mean? You can't do that. Now my job is to make what Jeff decided work. And so that's where my focus goes. If I keep my focus on how I just lost, right, then we lose twice, because now whatever Jeff wanted to implement is not going to happen either. So I've got to move my focus onto the other thing.
We also create transparency. So like if something's bothering me, I honestly don't wait. I just say it. I obviously do that. I think through what I'm going to say, and then I say it. So there's like little things, like I was shooting a video in the office recently, and Andy was being very rude and having a conversation with an agent in front of me while I was trying to record a video. And so I made some little snappy comment that, hey, I'm in the middle of doing some work for our coaching company. Could you please be quiet? And his rebuttal, instead of saying, yes, sir, was, well, I'm working right now for the real estate team that you own. So blah, 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 blah. And it was just funny. Like, I don't care. But another leader might've been super offended. He said it in front of another agent, but I feel like we have a really healthy relationship, but it's taken us years to get here. This doesn't just happen overnight.
That was exactly what I was going to ask. How long did it take you to get to that place, and how did you have the patience to get there?
I'll speak first. It honestly, and this is going to sound so silly, but like we're still getting like growing closer and closer. I've told Andy recently, he is one of my best friends, but he is a work friend, and we've kept a space there. Like we don't go out and hang out on the weekends, and we don't double date, and we see each other a lot with work functions. And I feel like we're best friends at all of those. But we do try to keep a little bit of space there. But over time, I feel like our relationship's just grown even more and more. And I think part of that is just like, I just got done watching the Band of Brothers series, if anyone's familiar with those. When you go to war with someone, and I'm not trying to compare a real estate team or business to war, but you guys get the parallel, right? You go through crap together, and you need someone as a leader that you can complain to. And Andy and I always talk about, you never complain down, you always complain up. So when you're the owner, who do you complain to? Your spouse, who doesn't want to hear about it each and every day. So Andy and I have used each other to be the person that is our safe person that we can kind of vent to. And by having to carry all this weight and burden of all these different business ventures together, it creates a closer bond with us.
Love that.
Let me ask this, because I know the answer, but I feel like it's really good for people to hear. So Jeff, you believed that you needed to raise somebody up from within the business to lead, right? Not bring somebody in from the outside.
I wouldn't say that specifically, Lindsay. I do think it's easiest to do it from within. I think that person gets instant credibility if they have performed to deserve instant credibility. I would have been open to look from outside. It just so happened that I was blessed with the opportunity to have someone from within. But with Kevin, for example, he came from the outside to run operations. Our team wasn't established yet, and he was easily accepted and assimilated into the business.
Yeah. Okay. And Andy, I know that you believed that, that helped with your peers, because you had done, you weren't asking them to do anything that you hadn't already done.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. It made those conversations easy, because those conversations were hard, right? But if I come in, it's almost like Jeff said, you can never take away. They will start viewing things as a loss, just like they viewed Jeff not being their accountability manager anymore as a loss. Well, if they give that position to somebody outside of the team, even if they did not want that position, it would have been viewed as a loss. Why were none of us considered? What is wrong with us? But since it was somewhere for someone within the team, right, you just take that off the table to begin with.
You guys, I want to jump in quick. I have about 10 more minutes, and I got to run and grab my kids from school. But I did want to make a mention really quick, Lindsay, since we promised it at the beginning. We would like to invite anyone listening to come out to one of our upcoming events. We host 6 team building and investor events a year in Omaha, Nebraska, as well as our annual event, which is called the Team Building Summit. And that's in July. For more information about upcoming events, go out to eliterealestatesystems.com. Just click on the events page. We also offer team leader training and individual agent training. Our individual agent product's $97 a month, and our team leader product is $997 a month. And the cost to come out to one of our workshops is $997 for 2 people. So would love to have anyone listening to come out. I know, Lindsay, you mentioned you have come out to that. Break it down quick in your experience. What were some of your biggest takeaways?
And I mean, mindset, just to piggyback off what you guys were saying, mindset was a big one, but really seeing your relationship, the two of you guys, that's why I wanted you on here so badly, and really seeing Kevin too. And I believe one of the neatest things, honestly, when I walked away from that was knowing that you, Jeff, as, you know, I'm going to just say as a boss, but more as an entrepreneur, you've created other opportunities for your team and for the people that are doing big things there. And that was so refreshing and so wonderful to see. And just seeing Andy and Kevin and Clint, who's over on the investment side, who's awesome too. Just watching them be involved, and then, you know, having agents come in and, you know, seeing how you run team meetings, all those things. I mean, it was just very impactful for us. And, you know, your systems are amazing. And
awesome. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Also, we have our podcast. So for anyone that's gotten value out of this episode, I have 108 other episodes similar to this, and where I interview top level individuals. I think, and I don't know if we've had you on yet, Lindsay. We should. If we haven't, I know Christy, you had mentioned we've had you on our show. It's the Team Building Podcast with Jeff Cohn. You can find it on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher.
Which is awesome.
Awesome.
Well, and, you know, so that is actually one of the things, though, that I'd love to talk through. So when there's an issue or there's a problem that comes up with you and Kevin, or, you know, the two of you, what does that look like? Is it really quick to figure out, and then you move into the next direction? Is there like time to think through it?
Yeah.
What does that look
I'll
like?
speak to that quick, Andy, and then you can jump in. So we have had leadership meetings ever since the beginning of the team. They'd be weekly before the team accountability meeting. So right now we run those at 9 a.m. So 9 to 10 every week. All of the direct reports and the leadership team know that they're going to have 1 hour space with me. So they know that they're going to be able to have access to me as much as they need to in that setting. If the issue that comes up can wait till that Monday, I'd ask that they just wait to bring it up on that Monday, which is amazing, because then I'm not getting texts and peppered with emails and all these things throughout the week that can wait. If it can't wait, we've created the expectation that they can text me and say, hey, I have something that came up. Please call me as soon as possible. And then it's a quick phone call and we have problem resolution around the issue.
And if it can wait till Monday, it probably gets solved before Monday.
Sometimes it will. Yep,
Yeah.
Exactly. Andy, what's your thought on conflict resolution?
It's my job throughout the week to keep things off of Jeff's desk. And then the things that I do keep off of his desk are to solve those problems before Monday. And then whatever's left and I couldn't solve and I need his input on, that's when I sit down and chat with him on Monday, or I bring it up on Monday. The other thing that I think we do when it comes to conflict resolution is, even a lot of times, because we're all in that, we've been together for so long, a lot of times we agree with each other on a majority of things, but Jeff does a really good job of taking devil's advocate position just so we can think it through.
Love
right?
that.
If Jeff will say it, he goes, okay, I'm going to rip that apart. This is devil's advocate, but here we go. You know what I mean? And so that really helps us not get away with making the easy choice all the time. So that's one of the things I like best.
The decision we always make is the decision that I think would be fair if I were the agent on the team. So if we're making a decision on something, I'll say, okay, let me play the agent role. And I assume I'm the agent on the team. Everything we've done as we've grown our real estate business and our coaching organization is in the position of an agent, helping the agent grow, be the best version of themselves. Not everyone needs to run a team, and they don't necessarily want to. Some agents only want to sell 5 houses a year, but there are the select few that want leadership positions, that want ownership positions, that want bigger and greater opportunities. To me, a true leader serves their followers by teaching them and giving them the space to be just like them and actually doing it and not just saying it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
Drop, right? Walk us through. So, okay. So I would imagine if we have people that want leadership positions on your team, your world is going to continue to get bigger and Andy's world is going to need to get bigger, correct? Like, what does that look like? How do you guys continue to evolve?
Yeah. So, complete transparency. We can't be completely transparent in this call, but there are definitely a lot of opportunities probably in our future that are going to allow us to expand our footprint across America. We talk about big, hairy, audacious goals, our BHAGs and 10X factor. I want to write the book 100X factor. So I'd like to have 100 teams. And within those teams, I don't think the future in regards to net profit, I don't think a lot of our profit's going to come from the real estate commission. I think it's going to come from the ancillary businesses offered to the consumer as the real estate commission starts to go away. So I want to launch in 100 markets in and or outside of Berkshire, possibly Keller Williams. And it doesn't have to just be one brokerage. It could be across all brokerage shops. And then I want to help people launch mortgage, title, insurance, investing, possibly new construction, whatever businesses make the most sense to run parallel to a real estate business. And that's where I'd like to sink my next 10 years. There's so much space there for anyone interested in participating in that growth. We will literally need hundreds of people
Yeah.
to build
What are the 3 words in your mind that characterize the people that you're going to give the biggest opportunities to?
Oh, that's a good question.
Consistent,
Driven,
driven,
reliable,
passionate. Yep, consistent. I want people like me. I'm a 99D99I, but when I say like me, someone that's going to be a good person, they're going to make the right choices. They're going to treat people the way that people want to be treated, following the golden rule. They're willing to do the heavy lifting. There's so many people that are just lazy. They don't want to work hard.
I was going to say consistent is not typical for a DI.
I know. So what I'm plugging into is their network of people that are consistent. So when I say find people like me, if I can find someone like me, that means they have people in their world that are consistent.
Yep.
Jeff needs to find visionaries to push him as a visionary.
Right.
And those visionaries have to have implementers to run behind them so that they can keep the pressure on.
So
Love it.
we have 2 minutes. Andy, really quickly, why did you choose Jeff as your leader? What did you really see in him? I mean, he just talked about, all these wonderful characteristics that you have too, and that he's looking for. Why him?
And we're talking back at the very beginning?
Yep.
Back at the very beginning, why did I choose Jeff? Okay, so real quick, I called Jeff and asked him, because he gave me a recruiting call, so I started doing my homework. And I said, hey, when I got on the phone with him, I said, give me about 3 or 4 agents on your team who are no longer on your team, and give me their name and phone number so I can call and talk to them. So I did this. And it was amazing because I got a hold of 3 of them, and they all had some complaints to say about Jeff, right? And I sat there and I'm going through them, and this is what I got out of it. Personally, they did not get along with Jeff. They all had their best years in real estate ever, and they all had the most opportunities that they've ever had. But they personally didn't get along with Jeff. And I was like, whoa, I'm not hiring him on to be my dad. You know what I mean? I'm hiring him on to help me grow in business and be a boss. I'm cool with that, right? I'm not looking to hire a best friend. And so I sat down with my wife and I said, man, everything I hear about this guy is business is great, but he's an acquired taste. Done. You know what I mean? And then I got on there and I was like, I think what was getting in the way and why they thought he was an acquired taste is because they had a lot of their own personal, right? They took it to offense.
I saw those things and I called them out for it, and no one wants to see themselves.
Exactly. Just like now. And I think that's why we get along, is that Jeff can be himself and call people out like he impulsively wants to. And then I don't take it personally. Right.
Well, like Christy's charger on her phone and saying, let's see a screenshot. I mean, Christy could take offense to me doing that in the beginning of the call, but I don't care. I'm going to be myself. I can't live in a world where I'm not myself. That would be a huge regret I would have at the end of my days.
80%.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having us on the show today. Super appreciate it. I got
Thank you guys so much.
Hey,
feel free to reach out to anyone that followed this. I'm on Instagram. Just look up Jeff M. Cohn on Instagram or Facebook, Jeff Cohn on Facebook.
Yes.
Of course, follow Elite Real Estate Systems. And again, would love to have anyone come out to Omaha. Lindsay, would love to have you back. And Christy, come check out what we got going here. I think you'd enjoy it too.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you,
Thanks
Lindsay.
for being with us,
Thank you
guys.
so much, guys. Have a great day. We'll put links for all of these things in there for you guys to access. So
Perfect.
have a great day.
Have a great weekend, guys.